Please welcome Jon Erwin, director of the hit film I Can Only Imagine.
How are you? I'm Jon. I should say first that I was in kindergarten. I was an ADHD disturbance to the class. At least that's what I was labeled. So I had to do kindergarten twice for the sake of the other kids. So they were like, "Oh, everybody else can just go on. Jon, you stay here for the sake of everybody else." And because I was a disruptive force, and so my mom started homeschooling me. I'm not sure if there's any homeschoolers here. There are. Okay, I keep the bright light. The lights are bright. So I just say I was invited to be here, and whatever happens is your fault. I'm a filmmaker. I don't deserve to be on this stage. I'm just going to share my story and a little bit of what God's doing in Hollywood. God is at work. It's a great time to be. Do you guys realize, I say this as a Christian, but it also applies to conservative values. We have more opportunities to communicate our message and our values globally than any other time in history. I am a Christian, and there's this thing called the Great Commission to take the gospel to the whole world. And it's never been possible up until right now at this moment. There's more cell phones than people on the earth. People have better access to mobile data in many places than drinking water. 20 movie theaters are opening every day in China. It's just an unbelievable moment that we're in to be able to communicate. And if we can get a little aggressive and if we can learn our craft. So I want to talk a little bit about that. I'll say this, though. I want to talk about freedom. When I think of the word freedom, I think of my grandfather. He received the Congressional Medal of Honor in World War II. Actually, our logo is his airplane. And I remember so vividly, he was horribly burned when he grabbed a phosphorus bomb that had erupted in a B-29 Superfortress and actually marched it to the front of the plane and threw it out, saving the lives of his crew members. It actually became the fastest presentation of the Medal of Honor in our nation's history. And I remember holding this medal when I was 5 years old with this blue ribbon. It's our nation's highest award. Not really understanding what it was, and then looking up to him and, of course, seeing the burns on his face and his arm and the severity of his injuries. And he just said to me, "Freedom's not free." Now, I didn't understand that for a long time. But freedom isn't free. It takes work. It takes sacrifice. It takes virtue. And that sacred fire of liberty, as Washington called it, has been handed to us, and we need to steward it well. I'm going to share my story in the time I have left, and I'm going to tell you a question that changed my life that I think can change your life too, that you should ask yourself. I should say, though, are there like high school students in the room or younger than that? Are there young kids? Okay. I believe in you guys, first of all. I believe in your generation. I believe in your talent, your abilities, but I'm going to tell you my story. But I'm not telling you my story to say go do it. Don't. There's some things that just happened. I want to throw a disclaimer out there. I'm not condoning my story. I'm just telling you what it was. Because when I was 15 years old, I was a homeschool kid, and I was an intern to a camera operator that worked at my church, and he worked cameras just like this, and he worked for ESPN. And at a game. University of Alabama football game, about 3 hours before kickoff. A cameraman got sick, and my mentor's name was Mike, called me. By the way, to the kids in the room, seek out mentors. That's like a big part of success. Find mentors, get around them, ask them questions. So Mike was my mentor, and he called me this Saturday, and he said, when I was 15, he said, "Jon, a cameraman's gotten really sick. There's a job opening. You can come run camera for ESPN. Don't tell anybody how old you are. Don't tell anybody you've never done this before. Just sort of, lie is such a strong word. Just misinform everybody about your age and stuff." And I didn't know any better. Don't do this. Just happened to me. Anyway, so I went to this game. My dad drove me to the stadium and dropped me off 4 blocks from the stadium because I didn't want anybody to know I couldn't drive. And so I walked in. And I ran this camera, and I always use cameras sort of like this size. And if you've ever been to a football game, the cameras are massive, and they're like telescopes. And so I was on this camera up high in the stadium, and you could zoom into a quarter of the moon. So I was literally zooming in and out of the moon, thinking this is the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. I had so much fun. I went from being the only person, I'm born and raised in, Red State, Bible Belt, Birmingham, Alabama. And I went from not knowing anyone that didn't share my worldview or my politics or my faith to being the only one that had those things in a crew of like pirates. And that's really when my faith became very real to me, and I had a great time. And so a crewing agent called me the next week. Again, I'm not condoning any of this. And she said, "Are you a freelance camera operator from Birmingham, Alabama?" And I had never heard those three words, didn't know what they meant. So I held fast. Is it Teddy Roosevelt? I think it's a Teddy Roosevelt quote. It's not, it should be. When he said, if somebody asks you if you can do something, say yes, and then go quickly figure out how to do it, right? And so she said, "Are you a freelance camera operator?" And I said, yes, I do that. I am that. Say it again. And I went and did a game at Auburn, and that led to a career working for ESPN. And then my dad bought me a camera with money he didn't have. When I was 16 years old, helped me get a loan for $10,000 for a bunch of editing. Don't help your 16-year-old get a loan for $10,000. There's a lot of stories I shouldn't have told this story. Anyway, Dave Ramsey's one of he promotes these films now, so we've erased that. There was no loan. Anyway, so it's not a part of our history anymore. And he said, John, Andy, dream bold, dream big, dream the impossible. And go for it. And he was always so great to support, and to the dads here, support the dreams of your kids. I think it's more important not even to tell them what to dream, but when you see them dreaming, support it, encourage it. My dad did that, and he told me to dream bold, dream big, dream the impossible. That stuck. And we began making stuff, all kinds of stuff, weddings, surgeries, birthday. I don't even want to remember all the stuff that we made. Anyway, and it was we were refining our abilities. And I'll say this real quick to the young people in the room. I believe we all have a gift. You have a unique ability. And I think when you discover your unique ability and you use it for a purpose beyond yourself, you use it for God's glory instead of your own, you'll never be happier in life vocationally. There's certain things that your career can't do for you. But that's such a key. You have something that is unique to you, a skill set that is unique. God's made you unique. God doesn't make clones. And but I think what a lot of people don't do, especially in my industry, that this is a problem, is they don't celebrate the time of refining their gift before they really use it. There's a great author named Malcolm Gladwell. He talks about something called the 10,000-hour rule, that people have to practice for 10,000 hours before they really master something and become famous for it. And I think we forget that in the Bible, there's all these stories of massive seasons of preparation for short seasons of influence. And I just want to say to the homeschoolers in the room, or the kids in the room, or the high school students in the room, use your time wisely. Because you have a great opportunity to learn things while you're young. You can learn really fast while you're young. And so I got to have the opportunity from about the age of 15 on to just hours and hours and hours every day practicing my craft. And so one thing led to another. It's that stewardship principle. If you're faithful in little, you'll be faithful in more. And finally, we were given an opportunity by a Christian music artist named Michael W. Smith and someone else named Amy Grant. The high school students in the room will not know who those people are. They were famous one day, before you were born. Anyway, so like Dennis Quaid in our movie. He was a movie star. He still is. Anyway, they gave us a break to do a music video for them, and we did that, and it went really well. And so my brother and I landed in Nashville doing music videos and national car commercials and things of that nature, and did very well, and won Video of the Year 3 years in a row, and had a career, making a living. And then this question that hit me like a ton of bricks. I went to direct second unit on a Christian movie called Courageous, which is made by a church in Albany, Georgia. Courageous fan right there. I heard it. It's a good movie. I was brought in to direct second unit, which is a fun job. What that means is I did the action sequences, because that movie was made by a church called Sherwood, wonderful people in Georgia, and they made the movies up to that point primarily with church volunteers. But they wanted to do some action sequences involving cars because it was a police drama. You never want to combine those two things, like a church making a movie and action sequences involving cars. Parishioners will get run over. And so it was my job to come in and just do those sequences and scenes and get inside Alex's head and make those moments possible, because I love chasing things and blowing things up with a camera. It's fun. And I'd gotten very good at it. So I got with Alex, and he asked me this question. He says, "John, what's your purpose and the purpose of your work?" And I couldn't answer the question. And not only could I not answer the question, I couldn't stop thinking about the question. And it lodged itself, or that whole shoot is like a splinter in my brain. And I would say that was my career to calling moment. And it's a great question. A lot of us know what we do, but there's a lot of us that don't know why we do what we do. There's a lot of us that don't have a vision beyond the what. And I just want to encourage you, no matter where God's placed you, no matter what gifts He's given you, find your why. There's a great book by Simon Sinek called Start With Why. And find your why and write it down. Why do you do what you do? And I couldn't stop thinking about it. And so I decided it was time that God had given us this skill, that God had given us this talent, and we needed to use it for Him. And that began with a little film called October Baby. We talked about Mike Tyson had this quote. He said, every boxer has a plan until he gets in the ring, he gets punched in the face, and that was sort of like that. You get in and figure it out, and we've been in the ring for a little while. And so we made that film, and God blessed it, opened the top 10, and made its money back. And we did a film called Mom's Night Out and a film called Woodlawn, and then now a film called I Can Only Imagine, which if there's anything you can remember about what I say tonight or today or whatever time it is that I Can Only Imagine is available on DVD and Blu-ray next week. Just remember that. Okay. They tell me to say that everywhere I go. So it's an honor to see what kind of success it's had. But what I realized is a long time ago, and here's the beauty of the times in which we live, is with those early films, we began hearing stories from all over the United States of lives being changed. In the case of October Baby, lives being saved. But then we started hearing them from all over the world. Oh my goodness, South Africa, China, Ukraine, all over South and Central America. And what we found out is that entertainment is America's second largest export, behind agriculture. And if you can make a movie successful in the United States, it goes on global autopilot all over the world. And all these countries have to actually pay for the right to distribute it to their people. And that's happening now. The challenge is that America only exports the hits. We call them blockbusters. But one of the things you've done with I Can Only Imagine, because of the massive amount of box office that it did, it's now going all over the world. Thank you, yeah. You did that. I didn't do that. We just closed a deal with China, where China is paying us hundreds of thousands of dollars for the right to translate I Can Only Imagine and give it to their people on television and on digital. South Korea, South Africa, all over. I just opened in Brazil last weekend, all over Central and South America, and over 100 countries. And that's the opportunity that we have. Our generation has been given more tools of communication than every generation before it combined. And we have this incredible opportunity. And if there's anything that I would just encourage you to do, it's like, what do we do with this? How do we steward this well? The Bible says, on this rock I'll build my church, Jesus said, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it, right? A gate is not a weapon. Nobody's going to throw a gate at you. Nobody's going to charge you with a gate. A gate is a defensive mechanism, right? Gates are meant to be stormed. And I have become a massive advocate of cultural offense. We have to start playing offense again. And we have to take, thank you. And we can do it. We can do it. We're not a small, the church, Christians, the conservative movement. We're sort of like an elephant in a circus. They train an elephant, and they tie a string to a baby elephant's, a rope to a baby elephant's leg around a pole, and that baby elephant can walk in circles, bound by that rope. And then when it's older, I'm sure I'm botching this because I don't work in the circus, but when it's older, they tie, a grown elephant to that same post, with a string, with that same rope, and it'll stay right there because of its view of itself. And I think sometimes that's our problem culturally. With I Can Only Imagine, all the trades and my industry in Hollywood just said it would fail, said it would do $2 to $4 million opening weekend, that it would be a financial disaster, that it wouldn't work. And it opened at $17 million and actually beat a lot of franchise films like Tomb Raider and Pacific Rim. It's now the #1 independent film of the year. It's the number 11 number 11 film of the year. You guys have bought 10 million tickets to this movie in the last 10 weeks. And what it shows, Hollywood, I was just with Dennis Quaid at the Kayla Fenn Awards, and he said, Hollywood doesn't know what hit him. And my industry is reeling, saying, how did this happen? What is this? How do we make more of these? Because they saw the power of a unified audience, middle American audience, what my industry was mentioned before, what they call the flyover, everything in between L.A. and New York. We're a massive audience. And I think we have the potential, if we change our mindset, if we change the way we think about God, if we change the way we think about ourselves, we have the opportunity to recapture the imagination of a generation globally with our values and with our faith. And I invite you all into that journey with us. You make it a movie. We work for you. If there's anything I want you to remember I say is thank you. You're our boss. Everyone that promotes our films, everyone that goes and see them, we work for you. And we want to give you a great experience in the theater. We want to entertain you. We want to create stories that are emotionally relatable, no matter what you believe, but stories that showcase our values and what we believe and what we hope for and what we need. My brother and I say we need a little more Frank Capra in Hollywood. He made It's a Wonderful Life, so we're trying to bring Frank Capra back. You know, we need it. Tired of all this anti-hero stuff. Even if it's well made, it'll rob you of your soul. Anyway, so we need a little optimism, a little hope. So I invite you. You make it happen. You actually, when you make a film successful, you trigger something called FOMO, powerful cultural thing. It means the fear of missing out. And it becomes this cultural snowball, as I Can Only Imagine did. And then it goes all over the world to many places that are persecuting Christianity, many places that you can't openly talk about your faith. They can't stop American movies. So we have this incredible opportunity together. And I just want to say to the young people in the room, don't let anyone despise your youth, the Bible says. You have a gift. You have a gift that's unique to you. You have a story that God's written that's unique to you. Find your gift as early as you can. Take time to refine it and refine it and refine it for years. And then use it not for yourself, but for a purpose beyond yourself. Not for your glory, but for God's glory. And if you do that, I think you'll never be happier in life, vocationally. And if we do that together, I think we have a cultural opportunity right now in this moment. I think there's a bit of cultural desperation in the times that we live in, and we have the answer as Christians. And so to the young people, I believe in you guys, and I believe in my business. If you're interested in it, we're just getting started. We've just begun to fight. We're just seeing the tip of the iceberg of what these things can become. And I dream of a day where faith films cannot compete with each other, but can compete with Star Wars and Jurassic World and these other major films. That can happen, and that can happen soon. So thank you for what you've done. So God bless you. Thank you for letting me speak, and I hope you enjoy I Can Only Imagine. And if you haven't seen it, check it out on DVD next week. God bless you guys. Take care.